G'day everyone, welcome back to another Toon podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's biggest and best podcast for all things Newcastle United. Joined by Craig, here to preview the opening match of the season against Southampton at home. Craig, 3 p.m. kickoff, traditional 3 p.m. kickoff. You can't say 3 p.m. without saying traditional anymore. So without further ado, we'll get stuck into it. We'll address the elephant in the room straight away. Will Fabian Schär have his mustache for the first game of the season?
Well, I've seen the the warm-up footage on YouTube, and I couldn't see the tash on him then for
it's very thin though. It's very hard to pick up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I hope it's still there. He looks like a proper porn star with it. And if anyone in the squad is going to be a porn star, it's going to be Fabian Schär, isn't it? It's going to be either him or Sven Botman, just when being Dutch. But now you look kind of with a tash, a lot better than what I would ever pull one off on. That's for sure. I can only grow it in the middle.
Well, I was going to say, if you can do pull your hair off, you could probably pull a mustache off as well. So don't ever doubt yourself, mate. No, seriously, we'll get stuck in. I guess it is. I don't know if it's breaking news or not. I think it dropped maybe an hour or so ago, Craig, that word kind of come out that the club have gone back for a fourth bid for Marc Guehi from Crystal Palace, very close to the £65 million valuation that they have for the player. I think we're officially in Bas Dos territory now, in the Bas Dos zone, with four different bids. Eddie had said at his press conference, like I said, maybe an hour or so ago, that if they think it's too much, they're just going to walk away. They've done it before, just no one else has really found out about it. So they're definitely not scared to do that. What are your thoughts? Do you think this will get it done, or do you think it'll get done at all?
I think it'll get done, but I do think we are overpaying for the player. I know we've had our little 1-2 conversations in our private chat about player valuations this summer and how overly expensive they have become. It will get done, but I do think we are overpaying the odds. I don't know how you can be twice as much as Botman when he's certainly not twice the player. Yes, he had a crack in Euros and you got the English tax and everything like that, but to become the second most expensive English defender in Premier League history, it's a little bit of a tall tale for a player who had maybe one good year or a last good few months at Palace and then a good Euros. But time will tell. I know Eddie will get the best out of him, and it's not my money they're spending, so I shouldn't really care, to be honest.
We're buying all the merchandise, mate, so it kind of is our money, I reckon.
I suppose.
I think one way to kind of look at it is if the £65 million valuation is what they hold dear, what would you say is 50 million or 45 to 50 million? Is that a fair valuation for him, do you think?
I would say so. Like I say, he only played a handful of games for England, albeit he played for the majority of the Euros. And again, we reached the finals and he had a good tournament, but so did us. And they're not really going for that crazy amount of money. And you got the English tax, that sort of thing. I do think 40 to 45 would have been a respectable amount for him, and it would have been great money for Palace, especially when you consider how much Elise went to.
I think he was 50. I think from memory,
yeah, something like that.
50 million.
I know he's a different type of player, but is he worth more than him in terms of what he can bring to a team? Maybe, maybe not. Time will tell, I suppose.
All right, so I'll put it to you that the fee is what it is, because there's a 20% kicker that go to Chelsea, which I think might equal out to around 15 million of the sale. So I think it's important to remember that Crystal Palace might value him at, they want 50 million for him. So that means the price is this, because that's how much they rate. And like, he's a good player, he's young, and like you said, the English tax as well, that puts him in the same kind of bracket as what Elise went for. So I think when you kind of look at it and structure it in that kind of way, it probably makes sense. But yeah, they're not, and it's similar to what we've just done with Charlotte with Miggy, where there is a sell-on clause to Atlanta as well. So I think from what I've sort of read, I think our valuation is around the 15 million mark, and that's so we can get some, and then Atlanta still get their bit as well. So that was a pretty shitty piece of negotiating, I think, whoever agreed for a sell-on clause for Atlanta for Miguel Almiron. But yeah, they have said like they will walk away. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is it. This is the last kind of nibble they'll have, and it's a take it or leave it. And it's hard.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, they don't need to take it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're desperate to sell. They're in any kind of FFP trouble, especially with Elise going for 50 million, and so they don't really need the money. So they can stick fat with their valuation. It's just sad that not sad. It's just annoying. I think that it's kind of dragged on. It's dragged on publicly as well, which is never good. But hopefully they can agree to a fee, and then the structure of payments and all that sort of bloody baloney that goes along with things like this. So, yeah, hopefully we'd love to an outcome probably over the weekend to be good, and then he can kind of a week to bed in, and hopefully he might be available for the Spurs game in the second week of the season. Now, on the Spurs game, it also broke, I think yesterday might have been, Craig, that Sandro Tonali has been cleared to return as of the 28th of August, which is, 12 days from time of recording. So that it hasn't been confirmed yet, but it is looking like that will be the Forest game in the Carabao Cup. We drew away to Forest during the week. We play, so the games are played over the Tuesday or the Wednesday night. We play Bournemouth on the Sunday, so it's highly unlikely that we'd have to double up again on the Tuesday night and play that game. So
yeah,
all things are pointing towards it. Tonali will be back for the Forest game in the Carabao Cup, and then we have got Spurs, I think, on the following Sunday. But it'd be good for him to get a run out, whether it's an hour or something like that, for that Forest game. And yeah, I think we're all pretty excited to have him back.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it seems like an absolute age, doesn't it, when all this betting scandal was first brought to where the media attention, and then it got dragged on, and then the 10-month ban. And as I said in the last podcast I just done, it felt like the summer's just dragged and dragged and dragged for the Premier League to get back. But I think once the first game's over, and then Tonali gets back and we're firing all cylinders, as I said, we could have one of the most threatening midfield trios in the Premier League. Eddie said in his press conference it'll take him maybe a little while to get up to speed, which is absolutely fair enough, but he's definitely fit enough. Just getting that match fitness, which again they've had a few behind games doors, I think he said, but you can't really replicate the feeling of the Premier League.
Behind games doors. Did you say behind games doors?
Behind closed doors games. I put my teeth back in.
Take your mouth guard out, Craig. So yeah, it's massive, and we'll touch on Joe Willock in a second when we talk about this weekend. But I think just the fact that when you say that midfield, and like, to be honest, we're probably a decent right winger away from having a serious, like, as good a front six as anyone's, really. And I know you can kind of dress it up any way you like, but I don't think that, going off last season, there's not that much difference between Isak and Haaland. I know you might have scored a couple more, like, not many more goals. I think he was one behind the Golden Boot with 2 or 3 games to go. And I don't know, they both had their injury troubles as well, but he's had a full pre-season. He hasn't had the Euros to deal with and everything like that. And from all reports, we had George Corkin on with a season preview, and he said, watching him live, even in the pre-season games, he looks hungry and he looks ready to go. And regardless of what happens with Callum Wilson, if he stays, if he goes, if he's injured, we do have that backup with Asula. So we don't have to rely on him. We can sort of bring him off in the last 15 minutes if a game's won, and just protect him a little bit more and things like that, because we have got the option to do it. So, yeah, like Anthony Gordon I think he was in the team of the year last year. If he wasn't, he should have been. He was absolutely enormous, and double figures goals and assists, which is massive too. So we do have, like, these players. We're just lacking the quality of the other 5 in that right wing position, which I think the club is probably going to look into address in the last couple of weeks of this transfer window too, which is which is pretty exciting. But we'll move on to the game. So, like we said earlier, Eddie's just wrapped up his press conference. Joe Willock's not quite ready yet. Craig, I don't think he's had an injury setback or anything like that. I think they're just working his fitness up to a level where once he's back, he's back, and it's not like a stop-start, like play one, miss one because you pulled up a bit sore or whatever it is. And we know that Eddie's fitness is a little bit different to most other managers' fitness as well. So he has played 2 games. He's been training well by reports. So, yeah, I think it's just a bit of a slow burn with him. And when he's ready to go, he'll be ready to go rather than kind of get drip fed in and come back when he's not ready and then risk doing something again and missing another chunk of time, which would be awful. Callum Wilson, he's still going to miss the first few games. I don't think there was any doubt with that. Once we found out he was injured, we knew he was going to be missing a fair chunk. Sven Botman, Jamal Lascelles with their long-term injuries. I'm not sure if we'll see them this year or not. It might be a 2025 prospect. Matt Targett's back in training too, Craig. I know you've been really worried about Matt's progress at the moment, so you'd be happy to hear he's back in training. Not ready yet. What I did like though, Craig, was someone asked about Miggy in the press conference, and Eddie's done the coaching thing, and he's a very valuable player, and we really value him and his qualities, and we're going to try and, get him back to the season that he had a couple of years ago, and they value him that much. They were happy to let him negotiate his personal terms with Charlotte during the week. So that's how much they value. That's how much they value him. But
I have a bit chuckle at that as well, to be honest. But Eddie, you're liable to shit you.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Getting to the team now, I've been stewing is probably not the right word. I've been throwing up different ideas and different scenarios how it's going to play out all week. So these are the things I'm not sure of, mate. I think the front 6 kind of pick themselves at the moment. I think Gordon, Isaac, I think Jacob Murphy is our first choice right winger come 3 p.m. on Saturday. And then Bruno, Joel Linton, and Sean Longstaff will probably be the midfield 3. Given Willock's not quite right, Tonali's still suspended, and I think Miley might be injured still as well. So I think they kind of pick themselves. Now this is where it gets interesting. So Nick Pope's in goal, that's fine. Yeah. Will we see Livramento or Kieran Trippier start at right back?
I've just been thinking about this, and I thought if Miggy starts, I reckon Tripp starts, because them two have got quite a good understanding and partnership down that right-hand side. And when they get those little triangles going with Bruno, it can be quite a sight to see, and it can be very, very effective. If Murphy starts, I think Tino could start. So I think it's literally going to be based around the partnership going with there. I know obviously Eddie will be keen to build a partnership between Murphy and Tino. It didn't quite pay off last season. There was a few loose ends that need to be tied up in terms of the understanding between each other. But either way, we've got options on the bench, whichever way we look at it. So that's always a positive, because last season we didn't have much options on the bench. That
was the killer. That was the killer last year, that we didn't have any flexibility or any in-game flexibility, and not much game-to-game flexibility either to actually change things up and things like that. So I think the People's Mustache himself, probably he picks himself. I know he picked up a little bit of an ankle knock last weekend in the Cellar Cup, but I think he's right. Now, this is occupied just as much as my thoughts as what the right back thing. Will we see Dan Burn or Lloyd Kelly partnering the People's Mustache at centre back?
I'm going to say Dan Burn, purely just on Eddie relies on him quite well. In Southampton, I've just again had a look at their squad. They've got a right back who is well known for his long throws into the box. So using Big Dan Burn's height advantage to try and maybe counteract those, that could be something Eddie leans on. But then you've also got Lloyd Kelly's offensive style of play, those long balls cutting at the midfield, which we're seeing on the Salah weekend. He's done that quite effectively. So I think it'll depend on which style of play Eddie wants to go for. You'll want to go all out attacking, which is understandable at home. First game of the season, want to get off to a flyer. But you also want to get the balance right of that back four. But I think Eddie will start with Burn just to try and maybe counteract those long throws and so on.
So we've got we've essentially got 3 players for 2 positions. So it's Dan Burn, Lloyd Kelly, and Lewis Hall for the left centre back, left back role. So you think Lewis Hall will start at left back as well?
Yeah, I think he's got that position nailed down now.
Yeah, so Dan Burns your left centre back until, or him and Kelly are your left centre back options until.
I think they'll rotate
to come back
as the season goes on.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing Emil Kraft make a fair few appearances this year as well. If this Guehi thing doesn't come through and they can't find someone else, and I know he's got his limitations, but I think he's a pretty serviceable player. And like, yeah, put it this, I don't think if we don't get Guehi, I think we'll get someone else to be that right centre back position. I don't know who. So yeah, you've done a little bit of investigation work on Southampton, mate. What did you come up with?
Yeah, so they finished 4th last season, so they came up through the playoffs, which to me is the way you'd want to come up from the Championship, just purely for the buzz and excitement of it, of lifting that trophy. Adam Armstrong scored 24 goals last season. Obviously, he's familiar with us, being an ex-Newcastle lad and a local lad too. Second highest goal scorer in the league with 24. He's beaten by Blackburn fellow whose name I can't pronounce, who scored 27. But of all 3 teams promoted, they scored the least and conceded the most. They have a high possession style of play, but it is also common possession as well. It's not just quick, get the ball forward, keep going, see if we can get in the back of the net, but they will play the waiting game to try and get that right pass to try and break through. And they also, from what I've been reading as well, the keeper likes to play effectively almost as a sweeper, kind of like Nick Pope. But he short passes into the midfield. So hopefully our pressing game is on point and we can put him under pressure for that, especially if he's playing on the edge of the box or a little bit higher. That is hopefully something that we can capitalise on. Southampton, they would have done their homework and realised that we are a pressing team. The players are going to be fully fit and fresh to go, and they're going to be hungry from that first whistle. And Isak, as you mentioned before, he's looking hungry. He really is. And they've just signed a new centre-back from Man City, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, his name is. I think he made like 10 appearances for Man City and he cost them like 23 million quid.
So I was going to say, I bet he cost about 25 million, this bloke.
Yeah, it was something along those lines as well. So he's a young upcoming centre-back. I think he's only like 22 years old, but he would have played and trained against Haaland. And there's not many better players to train against. So he'll know exactly what he could be coming up against, but he's really slow apparently. So he's got to rely on his positional play. And if we've got the likes of Gordon, Isak, Miggy, or Murphy running at those defenders, when we could have them on toast all day long, which would be absolutely ideal. But yeah, they play a high line. They play the passing game. So it'll be interesting to see if we just sit back and absorb that pressure, which I don't think we'll do against a newly promoted team. You'd hope not. I think we'll go at them from the first whistle. And we'll try and get the jugular from the first few minutes. We've got a habit of scoring early goals in the opening games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think George mentioned that on our season preview pod, which everyone should go and check out anyway. But he spoke with Emil Kraft and he said they're going to be a big front foot team, both home and away, and try and put the games away early. So if they're a possession team who are calm in possession, they're not going to be a calm in possession at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. We're going to be in their face from the moment the first whistle goes. We're going to be up in their grill trying to get the ball off them. So hopefully, and I think we really thrive on high lines. If you think of the Villa game and Spurs and things like that, teams who try to play really aggressive and get up the pitch and defend high, we have the players, especially even like a Shah and a Kelly and things like that. We have the players who can, like you said earlier, bypass that midfield and get in behind. And good luck chasing them 3 towards goal. Yeah. So having said that, mate, what's your prediction?
Well, I went with 3-0 in the last pod I was on, and I went for an Isak hat-trick, an opening day hat-trick.
he's due. If there's one bloke, I've never wanted someone to get a hat trick more than what he does. He's absolutely due. So I had 3-1. I think we'll win 3-1.
Right, okay.
Maybe a late consolation and put it to bed early and things like that. So hopefully, if you're watching, let us know in the comments what you think the end result will be. Jump on our socials. I'm sure, Craig, you'll be doing your pre-match tweet tomorrow night at some stage. So definitely get in touch. Let us know what you think. If we can think a decent prize, we might think about giving it to someone who gives us a correct score and the scorers and things like that. No guarantees. We'll have to see what's available in our prize cabinet before we decide what we can give away, mate.
Yeah. Oh, go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, that'll do, mate, unless you've got anything you want to add.
Nah, just buzzing for the Premier League to be back, return of proper football. 38 more weeks of interrupted sleep patterns. Bring it on. Looking forward to it.
I was just getting my body clock back on track too.
Yeah. But looking forward to it. Should be absolutely cracking, providing we stay relatively injury-free. We should hopefully be on for a cracking season.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean. I think our improvement will come from our availability, not so much. Look, hopefully we get a couple more players through the door by the end of the transfer window, but our improvement's going to be from the players that we already have and the squad that was built for the Champions League last year that didn't really get a chance to compete in the Champions League last year because of injuries and suspensions and things like that. So, yeah, I reckon we're in for a wild ride, mate, and I can't wait. So that'll do. I think, Jack will be back Monday, Monday night for our review. Might even be Sunday. We're not sure yet. I haven't checked the calendar. Probably should have checked it before I announced what day we're doing it. But check your YouTube or your podcast feed. We'll definitely be Sunday or Monday with a review. Hopefully we're all celebrating a big win, Craig.
Absolutely, bring it on. And Isak gets a hat-trick and first one since Jose Perez against Southampton.
Oh, there you go. That is a great start to finish. All right, mate. You take care. We'll talk soon. Thanks, everyone.
See you later, mate.